What an incredible week it has been for Indian technology.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
That emotion was shared by over 140 crore Indians and at least one foreigner on the successful landing of Chandrayaan 3 on the lunar surface. This is, of course, a huge achievement for ISRO, but it's also a significant achievement for an Indian startup, one in particular called Omnipresent Robot Technologies. This Noida-based startup is essentially acting as the eyes of the Pragyan rover that's going to be navigating the surface of the moon over the next 2 weeks. These guys have been working on the perception navigation software that captures images from the rover's 2 cameras, stitches them together, and then renders a 3D map of the moon's surface. So the way that this technology works is that the rover itself has this software inbuilt to capture these images. It sends it to the spacecraft, and then those images are processed on the spacecraft. They're turned into a 3D model, and then that 3D model is sent to mission control on Earth. So the reason why these 3D maps are so important is that scientists back on Earth actually use these maps to decide where the rover is going to go. They're using these maps to basically decide the navigation of this vehicle. Now, it is worth noting that Omnipresent has been working with ISRO for some time, and their technology was actually supposed to be on the Chandrayaan 2, but that rover was never deployed. But I just think it's so incredible that ISRO is actually trusting a young Indian startup with such a critical mission, and it definitely goes to show that Indian space tech startups are in fact ready for the task at hand. Now, at the moment, India has about a 2% share in the global space economy, which values the Indian space market at around $8 billion. And there's already about 140 space tech startups in India at the moment, and a lot of them are actually planning their first satellite or rocket launches in the next couple of years. And so the way that things are shaping up right now makes it seem like by 2040, it's very possible that India's space tech industry might be worth upwards of $100 billion. All right, next up, just a little PSA. Unfortunately, we had some camera trouble while we were recording this episode, so unfortunately, the rest of the episode is going to be audio only with, of course, visuals created by our very talented video editing team. I apologize, and we'll do better next time. Thanks. All right, now moving on, I want to keep talking about Chandrayaan 3 here for a second, but pivoting to a new company, not Omnipresent, but Ultraviolette Automotive. So to celebrate India's landing on the moon, they actually launched their own special space edition of their motorcycle, the F77. They made just 10 units of this motorcycle, each priced at 5.6 lakh rupees, and they were sold out in just 90 seconds of announcing this. And I know that this is just them doing good marketing at the end of the day, and there's really no difference between this bike and a normal F77 apart from the aerospace grade paint and aerospace grade aluminum, which, is that really going to make a difference when you're driving it? No, probably not, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, let's talk about another company in this same sector of space and innovation, deep tech, DroneAcharya. So this week, DroneAcharya Aerial Innovation successfully tested a reusable rocket launch vehicle, and that vehicle managed to reach an altitude of 3 kilometers and then successfully landed with a parachute mechanism. They were also, of course, able to retrieve the entire vehicle along with all of its sensors, and this is really just a test. 3 kilometers isn't actually that high, but it's a great start. This test was conducted so that they could get an idea of their burn rate and retrieve the launch vehicle successfully, and they plan on conducting further tests to achieve heights of 10 kilometers and then 30 to 50 kilometers. Now, a lot of people missed this, but back in December of 2022, DroneAcharya actually had their IPO. They are a publicly traded company now, and they're profitable, which is always great to see. Okay, now moving on to something a little bit more unfortunate, the Mumbai Police have filed an FIR against 4B Network CEO and founder Rahul Yadav. So they filed this FIR against Rahul and also one of his founding members, Sanjay Saini, for cheating an advertising firm out of 10 crore rupees. The complaint was filed by Interspace Communications Director Vikas Noval for not making payments for putting up more than 83 advertising hoardings for Rahul's company in Pune between April and August of 2022. This is obviously just one of many things going on right now when it comes to this 4B Network situation, with InfoEdge, of course, writing off their investment and saying it was actually a mistake. And they had invested 288 crore rupees into this company, so that's a pretty expensive mistake. All right, next up, the weekly update on the 28% GST that's now being applied to gambling, gaming companies. And some of you guys might actually be looking forward to this segment at this point to see what kind of damage this new GST is doing, and it definitely is having massive damage. So just to recap here, earlier this month, fantasy sports unicorn Mobile Premier League had to lay off 350 employees, which was about 50% of their workforce. Then there was also Hike. They had to lay off 55 5 employees, which was about 20% of their workforce. And now we have another real money gambling startup, Spartan Poker. They have laid off 125 people, which was about 40% of their workforce. And that's not all this week. There's another startup in this space, Fantalk. They actually shut down their operations completely. They just couldn't make it work. All right, next up, this is pretty cool, a name that we don't often hear about, at least not since 2018. Binny Bansal. He actually recently sold his stake in Flipkart. We talked about that a couple of weeks back, and now he's going to be building another company in the e-commerce space. Now, there's very little information about this new venture at this point, and nothing is really confirmed, but what we do know is that it's expected to be in the cross-border e-commerce segment, where the company will be helping other e-commerce firms by providing design, product, and manpower support. Now, one interesting question here is that why has Binny Bansal waited so long to start something new? Why has he just been sort of sitting on his hands? He's been investing in companies, obviously, but he's been pretty quiet. And actually, the reason is that he signed a non-compete when he sold Flipkart to Walmart back in 2018, and that was a 5-year commitment. So now, finally, that 5-year period is over and he's free to do whatever he wants. Now, one very interesting part of this story is that Binny is actually not planning on being the CEO of the company. He wants to find an executive to fill that position and run the company on his behalf, essentially, and he'll be the founder that's providing vision and support, but he's not going to be the guy running it on a day-to-day basis, which is actually a really interesting and I would say a valid approach. I think more startup founders should look at doing that for their second or third business if they've had success in the past. All right, next up, we have our startup of the week this week, Magic Slides, and they help professionals to create presentations using AI in seconds. And I'll let the founder tell you more about his company.
Imagine being in a situation where you have a presentation due in just few hours. Now, rather than going to 100 different website sources and curate that information to create the presentation, you can use AI to do it for you. Hello everyone, my name is Sanskar. I am the founder of MagicSlides.app. MagicSlides.app helps you create presentation using AI right inside Google Slides. So all you need to do is install the add-on, open any Google slide, enter the topic, give how many slides you want, choose the language of your presentation, that's all. Once you click generate, it will take maximum of 50 seconds to create the presentation for you. The presentation will include information from the top trusted resources like Wikipedia and Google Scholar, and there will be a link to the source if the information was included from there. We can also include images appropriate for each and every slide depending on the content, so that you don't even have to do that. So just like that, rather than having to spend hours to curate the information, find the right images, and create the presentation, design it, you can let Magic Slides to do it for you. So go ahead, give MagicSlides.app a try. Let's create presentation using AI.
If you want a chance to be featured as our startup of the week, which is a no-brainer, everybody should. People pay us money for these slots and we're giving them away for free. All you need to do is take your phone, film a selfie video, 60 seconds or less. Can't go above 60 seconds or we won't accept it. Go to towardsventures.com, fill out a bit of information about your company, add your video, and we might feature you. All right, next up, let's talk about the funding news this week. So last week was terrible. Less than $4 million raised across the entire startup ecosystem. Worst week on record for this financial year. Whereas now, this week, things are a lot better. $41.97 million raised across the entire ecosystem. So who were these companies that were raising funds this week? Well, let's take a look. So the leader was Zaggle. They raised $11.87 million in their pre-IPO round. They're a B2B fintech platform. Then we also have Grad Right, a Hyderabad-based study abroad financing company. They raised $6 million. Next, we have a D2C baby care brand, Super Bottoms, which is based in Thane. They raised $5 million in their Series A1, and they're known for making these reusable and washable baby diapers. Then we also have some AI companies. So Kombai's team appears to be from all over India, and their LinkedIn says they're in San Francisco, so I'm really not sure where these guys are based, but they're a developer platform that converts UI designs easily into code using AI. They raised $4.5 million. And then we have another AI company, Portkey. They raised $3 million, and they're making it easier for companies to develop apps by providing seamless integrations to generative AI platforms like OpenAI. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Check UPI. They raised $500,000 from Y Combinator's accelerator program. And what these guys are doing is making UPI accessible to foreigners like me. So a lot of people come to this country, they don't have Indian bank accounts. And because of that, in the past, they weren't able to use UPI, but now thanks to Check UPI, they can. So thank you so much, Check UPI. You guys are doing awesome work. And thanks to you for watching this video through to the end, and I will see you in the next one.